Hi yogis, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to take you through a quick Vinyasa flow for all levels. So if you're super beginner and you don't know any of the sequences, then you might want to pause the video and look at the link down below for you there at one of the beginner videos, just until you get some of the main poses like tree pose and such. And other than that, this video is suitable for anybody, so let's get started. We're going to start off in child's pose, so you can take your knees to either side of the mat and walk your hands out in front of you to get a nice deep stretch in the back, bringing your butt down onto the heels of the feet and the forehead to the mat, and just taking some deep breaths here. We're going to walk our hands in and press up out of tree pose into hands and knees, bringing our hands directly beneath the shoulders and doing some cat and cows here. Breathing out as you lift the spine to the ceiling and breathing in as you push your chest to the floor. Breathing out and in, out, lifting the spine. We're going to bring our toes under and push up into our first downward dog. Making sure to get the position here, having our fingertips nice and spread, and pedaling out the legs so you can get that nice stretch in the backs of the knees. Just kind of moving around and getting that first really good stretch into our hamstrings, lower back, shoulders, full body stretch here. We're going to step forward to the top of our mat, and we're going to take the backs of our elbows and hang over, swaying here. Another nice little stretch. You can bend the knees here if you'd like and do some little rocks back and forth, but the upper body should be completely releasing. You can bring the weight in to the toes of the feet here, back into the heels. And we're going to lift our arms all the way up as we stand up straight, tucking our hips forward and bending at the hips all the way down. Can bring our hands up to a halfway lift, putting our hands on the mat and stepping or lightly jumping back into plank, lowering down to chaturanga, inhaling upward dog. Few breaths in upward dog, really getting the position here. And rolling back into down dog. Breathing in and out of the nose in down dog. You can look to the top of the mat and step or lightly jump your feet to your hands. Gonna inhale all the way up. Exhale all the way down. Inhale to a flat back. Step or lightly jump into plank. Lower down to chaturanga. Inhaling upward dog and exhaling downward dog. Breathing here. Looking to the top of the mat, stepping or lightly jumping our feet to our hands. Inhaling all the way up. Exhaling all the way down. Inhaling to a flat back. Stepping or lightly jumping into plank. Lowering down to chaturanga and inhaling upward dog. Exhaling downward dog. We're going to take our right leg up as high as you can into a three-legged dog and really opening up that hip, getting a nice stretch in the side body. You can bend the knee here if you'd like for an additional stretch. Now if you'd like, you can either stay in three-legged dog or you can drop that right foot over into Wild Thing, getting a nice back bend here, looking to your right hand. If you'd like to take this to the next level, you can drop into bridge pose. Otherwise, just stay in Wild Thing or three-legged dog. Coming back to three-legged dog here, bringing that foot down into down dog and bringing the left foot up high to the sky, getting a nice stretch and opening up the hip on the other side. You can bring a bend in the knee here, just like we did on the other side if you would like an additional stretch. Opening up that hip, keeping the alignment in the shoulders and the hands, and dropping down into Wild Thing if you have that in your practice. Looking over that right hand, can come into bridge pose from Wild Thing if you have that in your practice. If not, staying in three-legged dog or Wild Thing. Coming back to three-legged dog and dropping the left foot down to downward dog. Stepping or hopping to the top of the mat. Inhaling all the way up and exhaling all the way down. Inhaling to a flat back, stepping or lightly jumping back into plank, lowering down chaturanga, inhaling upward dog, and exhaling downward dog. Breathing here. We're going to bring our right foot to the front of the mat between the hands, drop the left knee down and come into a low lunge position, bringing those arms up high. You can use your blocks here if you'd like to help take some of that pressure off of the hips, scissoring those hips together, keeping the alignment in the hips squared off. And you can look up to the ceiling and bend backwards if you'd like. That is too much for you, just keeping with your hands either on the top of the front knee or on your blocks to help stabilize you while still getting that nice stretch. Keeping the fingers activated if you have them up towards the ceiling. Bringing those hands to either side of the foot and coming back to plank, lowering down chaturanga, inhaling upward dog and exhaling downward facing dog. Bringing that left foot to the top of the mat, dropping the right knee down, coming up into a low lunge. Again, we can use our blocks here to help support us or place our hands on top of the left knee. Otherwise, bringing our hands up high to the ceiling, getting a nice stretch in the back here. Squaring off the hips, keeping that scissoring motion between the legs, and trying to keep that balance here. Breathing in and out of the nose, and if you fall out, coming right back to it. Our practice is perfectly imperfect just where we are. Falling out is a part of that. Bringing our hands on either side of the foot, bringing that foot back to plank, lowering down to chaturanga, inhaling upward dog, and exhaling downward facing dog. Breathing here, in and out of the nose, keeping that integrity in the hands and the shoulders. We're going to hop or step to the top of our mats, inhaling all the way up and exhaling all the way back down. Inhaling to a flat back, stepping or lightly jumping into plank, lowering down to chaturanga, inhaling upward dog and exhaling downward facing dog. Bringing that right foot to the top of the mat, coming up into a high lunge. Keeping those hips squared, bringing our hands to prayer position at the chest, keeping a nice straight alignment in the spine, tucking that stomach in. We're going to bring our left elbow onto the outside of the right knee and twist, gazing over the top of the right elbow here, keeping that back knee nice and fiery up off the mat. You can open your arms here for an additional twist, looking over that top fingertip. Keeping the integrity in the front knee. Coming back to prayer position at the front of our chest for a few breaths here. And pushing up into airplane. If you fall out, just come right back to it. That left leg should be directly straight out behind you with the toes flexed facing the mat and your hands out directly in front of you, creating a nice line from the toes to the fingers. We're going to come into half moon pose, taking that right arm or right hand onto the ground or onto a block, bringing that left arm up towards the ceiling and keeping that left leg extended with your foot flexed and your hip open to the side. Should be a nice T in the arms, straight back, hips pressing forward. Come out, shake out the legs, bending the knees, releasing some of the tension here. Breathing all the way up and exhaling all the way down. Inhaling to a flat back, stepping or lightly jumping back into plank, lowering down chaturanga, inhaling upward dog and exhaling downward facing dog. Other side, taking the left foot to the hands, coming up into a high lunge. Making sure the hips are squared off here. That back leg is fired up, bringing our hands to prayer position at the chest. Nice 90-degree angle on that front leg. Back is nice and straight. Our stomach's tucked in. Our shoulders are back. Bringing our right elbow to the outside of the left knee this time and twisting. Looking over that top elbow, keeping the integrity in the back and the stomach here. If you like, you can open up the arms for an additional twist. Firing up that core and firing up those legs here. Looking over the top hands. Coming back to center for a few breaths. And pushing up into airplane. Really fire up that back leg. The hip should be squared off with the toes extended towards your shin. Arms extended out in front of you. We're going to bring our left hand down to the mat or to a block and coming up into half moon pose, tucking the hips forward, keeping that leg extended out. If you do not have a block and you cannot reach the mat, you can place your hand on the supporting leg, having that right arm up towards the ceiling. If you're falling out like me, just come right back to it. That is perfectly fine. Coming back to that alignment, a nice T of the arms, and releasing here. Shaking out the legs, coming to some bends in the knees, releasing that tension, coming into a forward fold. We're going to clasp onto the big toes here with your peace fingers. You can have a bend in the knees or straighten them, whatever your flexibility is allowing you to do. Getting a nice stretch in the back of the hamstrings here. Breathing in and out of the nose. Releasing. We're going to bring our toes just to the edge of our mat and coming down into a yogi squat, bringing our elbows onto the insides of the knees and creating a pressure, tucking our hips forward, bringing our back straight and looking straight out ahead of you. That nice alignment in the spine is what really helps here. breathing, focusing, coming right back to it if you need to straighten your legs for a moment, listening to your body here. We're going to take some quick wrist warm-ups because we're going to prep for crow. So if you'd like to press on different directions onto your wrists here, pressing onto the back of the hands, front of the hands, and rolling out those wrists in prep for crow. We're going to come up into crow. So you're going to have your hands underneath your shoulders, bringing your knees up onto the backs of the elbows, tucking them into the armpits, and lifting the feet up off the ground. Really creating an abdominal pull here to keep those feet up. Dropping out and shaking out those wrists just for a moment, because we're going to come right back into it and going up a second time. If you don't quite have crow in your practice yet, just practicing lifting one foot at a time here. Looking about 2 feet out in front of you helps for balance. And shooting those feet back out into plank. Inhaling upward dog and exhaling downward facing dog. A few breaths here in down dog. Looking to the top of the mat and stepping or lightly jumping our feet to our hands. Bringing our palms underneath our toes. You can bring a slight bend in the knees here and massage your wrists with your toes if you like. Releasing. I'm going to breathe in and extend all the way up, looking at the ceiling, and breathing out as we come all the way down. Bending the knees and coming up into chair pose, tucking those hips forward. Our feet should be about hip-width distance apart, and our back should be straight with our arms fired up, our fingers extended and looking straight out ahead of us. Weight should be in the heels of the feet to help protect your knees. Extending straight up here. We're going to come into tree pose. So firmly plant your left foot into the mat and bring your right foot onto the inside of your thigh. If this is too much for you, you can place the foot on the inside of the calf, just not directly over the knee here. Tucking those hips forward and bringing our arms up towards the sky. You can look up if you'd like, otherwise just keeping your hands at prayer position at the chest. Gonna hug that knee in without dropping it down. If you'd like to go to the next level, you can take the toe with your peace fingers and extend that leg out. Bringing that leg out to the side here. If you're still holding on to the knee, you can still bring the knee out towards the side while you hold it. Bringing that knee or leg back into the center and releasing here. Keeping it up, holding it up. I know it's hard. Use those abs. Keep that foot up. Don't drop it, yogis. And release. You can shake out the leg there. Firmly plant the right foot into the ground and take that left foot onto the inside of the right thigh or calf. Tucking those hips forward and extending those arms straight up towards the ceiling. If you fall out, just come right back to it. You're going to hug that knee into the chest. If you'd like, you can either stay here or take the big toe with your peace fingers and extend that leg out. You can still do this with a bend in the knee as long as you're creating a nice flat back here. Bringing that foot or knee out to the side. Keeping your balance, keeping those hips forward and the integrity in your spine here. Bringing that foot to center and dropping it, but holding it up, keeping it up. Yogis, do not drop it, do not drop it. You've got this. And release. Shake, 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 shake it out. Shake your booty. There you go. All right, coming back to the top of our mats here. We're gonna inhale all the way up. Exhale all the way down. Inhale to a flat back. Step or lightly jump our feet to plank. Lower down chaturanga. Inhaling upward dog and exhaling downward facing dog. Few breaths here, in and out of the nose. Gaze should be just at the back of your mat between your 2 feet. Looking forward and stepping or jumping to our hands, sitting on our butts and coming down onto our backs here. Prepping for bridge pose. Bringing our feet just below our butt and bringing those hips up to the sky. If you'd like to go further, you can walk your arms underneath your booty, really pressing those hips up. And releasing. A few breaths here. We're going to go up again. You can go into full wheel, great. Otherwise, just go into another bridge. Really pressing those hips to the sky. Pressing into the mat here. And releasing. I'm going to have a few more breaths in and out of the nose. And getting ready to go up for one last bridge or wheel, whichever you're comfortable with. Pressing up. Make it count. This is your last one. Fire up those glutes. Press those hips to the ceiling. Really press into those feet. You've got this, yogis. You're so strong. And releasing. Hug those knees into the chest. Nice deep breaths here. You can rock your hips side to side if you'd like. We're going to take the outsides of our feet and pull our knees down towards the mat, keeping the tailbone flat onto the ground for happy baby here. Breathing in and out of the nose, firmly pulling on the legs without pulling too hard where it's hurting. Listening to our bodies here. Feeling our stomach rise and fall. And release. We're going to rock up to seated. 2 or 3 rocks here. And coming up. We're going to extend our legs straight out ahead of us. Flexing our feet with our toes towards our shins. We want to keep a nice straight leg. Extend our arms up as high as they can and lean over towards your toes without putting a bend in the knees. If your knees are wanting to bend, you're going too far. So go just as far as you can without placing the bend in the knees. Keeping integrity in the spine here. And breathing in and out of the nose into the stretch. Slowly releasing, coming back to seated. Can shake out those knees. We're going to come onto our knees with our feet out behind us, knees directly under the hips. You can take a block between your thighs if it helps. And we're going to come into camel pose. So you can either place your hands on the back of your butt or lower back, or you can bring your hands down on to your ankles here, pressing the hips forward and melting the heart towards the ceiling. Breathing here and coming back up. You can take that block out. We're gonna come into a seated straddle pose here. Bringing those legs out wide to either side. bringing our arms up, lengthening the spine, and bringing that chest towards the floor while keeping the integrity in the spine, not hunching over. If that means not going all the way down, then that's perfectly fine. Just go as far as your legs will allow you to without bringing a bend in the knees. You can place pillows or blocks under your chest if it helps. Breathing in and out of the nose here. Getting that nice stretch in the inner thighs and the pelvic area. Going to slowly start walking our hands up to seated. Slowly bring our legs back to center and drop the knees from side to side, taking some windshield wipers here to release from the back of the legs. We're going to come down onto our backs and we're going to take our hips slightly to the right and drop our knees over to the left, bringing our arms out to a T in a lying spinal twist. If you would like to go a little further, you can take the right knee over the left for an additional stretch here, making sure our shoulders are not coming up off the ground. That would mean you're going slightly too far into the twist, and you can back out of it. If your legs are hovering above the ground, or so your knees, you can feel free to place a pillow or a block underneath them. Breathing in and out of the nose here. You can close off the eyes. We're going to slowly release and bringing our knees back to center, bringing our hips slightly to the left and dropping our knees over to the right this time, looking over to the left. Again, making sure our shoulder blades are touching the floor. If your shoulder is wanting to lift, you are going too far into the twist. If your knees are hovering, that is perfectly fine. If you would like some extra support, please place a pillow or a block underneath them. Closing off the eyes here and breathing. Coming back to center, gonna release our feet down to the bottom of the mat. Let the feet drop open, nice and wide, dropping our hands open towards the ceiling, and coming into final rest position. Shavasana. Have your eyes closed off, breathing in and out the nose here, and just allowing your body to feel the sensations of the hard work that you've put in. Breathing in and out of the nose and relaxing. Don't just get up and skip this part of the workout, yogis, because you've earned it, and it's important to take time to appreciate what your body can do for you. I'm so glad you joined me on my mat today, yogis. I hope you found value in this video. If you liked this video, don't forget to smash that like button below. Comment with any suggestions you have for future videos or any questions you have about modifications. If you know anyone who would gain value from this video, please share this with them. And if you would like to see future videos as they're released, please subscribe and click the bell notification button below so that you are notified when new content is released. Other than that, yogis, I hope you have an absolutely awesome day. You can slowly roll onto your right side, press up to seated. Bye, yogis. Namaste. Have a great day. You're awesome.